All right, welcome. We are live. I'm Justine, and we're going to be making an intuitive painting that is minimal and beautiful and textured and simple. And I have my supply set up here. Let me show you, and let's dive in. All right, hope you can see that here. So I've got a piece of paper. I've got a board, I can just get messy here. I've got a plate as my palette, a spray bottle of water, a cup of water. I've got a Prismacolor pen. It's a double tip black marker. I've got some craft paint. I'm keeping it real simple. This is basic black and white craft paint. And then I've got my brushes and some quick dry tacky glue. And I've also found some old packing paper that was in some boxes that I ordered some things in. So we're gonna reuse this paper to create texture on this piece of paper. And this piece of paper is watercolor paper. I think it's watercolor, kind of like bristly watercolor paper. And so it's a bit thick. It's not thin like computer paper. It's kind of a cardstock. All right, so I'm gonna just set up the supplies while I'm just tuning into, whoops, that needs to be mixed up, my energy today. So just take a few moments to, as you're setting up your supplies, focus on your breathing, focus on how you're feeling today, what your intentions are for today. Just tuning into the present moment. What are you feeling excited about? Just a little mindfulness practice to help ground us into creating. And I love to just connect with the surface and touch it and think about what my intentions are for this piece. My intentions are that we create something that is simple and minimal and calming to look at, that has some texture in it to represent the texture of our lives, the texture of the day, and how we can just ride the waves of the texture throughout the day and find peace in the rough edges of our lives and find calmness amongst the difficulties or things that feel maybe rough or coarse or difficult to handle. And so in that practice, we're mindfully transferring that energy into the artwork, getting it out of our bodies. A lot of intuitive art is about the expression of it and getting it out from ourselves. It's a bit like therapy, getting it outward. And it's a practice of doing that. And that allows us to not have any rules or boundaries around what is right or wrong, because it's abstract. It can be anything. There's no right or wrong way to make this art, okay? So use what you have. If you don't have the same supplies, that's totally fine. Just something simple that you've got. Even if you don't have texture, you can use paint to create texture. You can just use, oh, we have a visitor. This is Drogo. You could just use glue instead of paper, or you could use an old paper bag and tape, things like that. Okay, so now we're clear on the intentions. We're going to dive in. Oh, one more thing. Turn on some music you love. That will help you get into a more flowy, expressive state. I love music that doesn't have any words to it or minimal words. My favorite playlists on Spotify to listen to when I'm painting or tattooing or anything, or I'm getting into the zone, even reading or studying, is frameworks, the music artist frameworks, and I just say that radio on Spotify. So you could try that. Okay, so let's take some of this paper. and crumpled up to get more texture. I'm actually going to rip up some parts of it. And we're just going to start gluing it in an intuitive pattern, no right or wrong way. Tear up more parts of it. It all doesn't need to be glued down perfectly, but it can overlap. You might want some more on the edges to hold it down. And you could wait for these layers to dry if you want, or you can just go right for it, which is what I'm going to do. And see how I'm just not being perfect with it? That's really the trick. Just playful experimenting. Getting into a flow, just being so present with the materials. We're always in intuitive painting or creating, whatever we're doing here. We are tuning into our divine inner child, that sacred, childlike part of ourselves that maybe didn't get enough time to play. And we're waking that part of ourselves back up again. I'm just going to spread that out with my finger. Most of the glue is covered, which will make it a little easier to paint right away. But if you let it dry, that would be cool too. It would be very easy to paint. I'm going to draw some designs intuitively that feel like the flowiness of my consciousness throughout my day, my life. Moving, navigating through, well, it's representing moving through the coarse, rough parts of life. Just feeling what that feels like. Of course, no right or wrong way. This pen's cool because it has two tips to it. This is a bit thicker, you can see there, right? It sort of feels like a treasure map. I'm just making some marks. Doesn't need to be too busy because it's going to stay minimal. And now I'm going to get some paint. I'm actually going to spray some water on this and just see what happens. I'm choosing a flat brush. Many of my supplies are, or my brushes specifically, are not, they're very inexpensive. They are not the highest quality because a lot of my work is very experimental and rough, and I don't want to invest in a lot of precious art materials because I think that that stifles my creativity sometimes. But if I do need something very specific, I will get a nicer, like, large brush or something like that. Add some water. This is acrylic craft paint, so it will dry really quickly. And when I thin it out with water, it creates a really beautiful gray tone. And the thing with intuitive abstract painting is that we are not focused on what the final piece looks like because we are not focused on what our mind is wanting it to be, but more on the feeling and presence with the experience of how the paint is moving with the water. Just seeing how it spreads, how the paint meets and blends, and just allowing your subconscious to make the decisions. And you allow your conscious mind to be focused on what you see happening and falling in love with that, the beauty that's occurring with the materials. And what I'm noticing is that the paint is spreading into where there's water and blending in there, and it's really beautiful. And then the white is mixing with some of the black and creating a really pretty gray. And when I have thin layers of the white, you can still see the pen, the marker through it. And I'm noticing too that the paint is helping the paper stick and become more one with the original surface, the original paper. Often when you're intuitive painting, you're painting in an intuitive way, you'll have lots of thoughts come up. So I like to have a journal or notebook or some paper next to me where you can just jot down ideas as they arise. Maybe there's meaning in the artwork that you didn't realize, and those thoughts will show up to you as you're painting. You can jot those down. I'm gonna spray some more water. See what this looks like. Create some nice texture. And a bit more water to help me spread the paint out a bit. I'm going to add some white just right on top of this and just see what that looks like. Quite like that. We'll spread some of it out. This Prisma marker is kind of a permanent marker, so the water is not affecting it, so it's not really going away when I paint over it. And I do like some of these thick globs of paint, so I might keep some of that. Or you could let them dry, and then you have nice textured paint splatters there. You know, keep in your artwork. It's coming to life now. And notice I'm not switching brushes. So my process is remaining minimal, simplified. And sometimes when we just constrict our materials, we can be even more creative than if we have tons of materials to choose from. Maybe change up the direction, see if you notice anything else. Now some of those I like. Really like when the paint bleeds out with the water and creates even more beautiful moving textures. And when we let this dry, it's gonna be really beautiful. And we can frame this and it'll be really beautiful, minimal artwork you can add to your home art collection. All right, I'm feeling that is complete. And let's see, can you see this? You can see all the beautiful texture in here. And there you have it. I think this would look really beautiful when it's all dried and framed. It'll be a gorgeous piece. So this is a simple way for you to make your own intuitive, minimal, meaningful, abstract artwork. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back here every Monday. There you go, every Monday on YouTube. Share this with anyone you feel like would love to create some art with you. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.